The fact that you have the likes of Heineken and Omega and Tom Ford on the back from the last Bond doing Skyfall and their partnerships coming back for Spectre means that this for them is a guaranteed kind of hit. And it's one of those rare things in the movie business, a film that is almost a guaranteed hit. You know this is going to do over 700 globally, probably $700 million, and probably make it close to the figures that Skyfall did.
Is there a brand that you think is, I mean, the sort of involvement with vodka, those are sort of obvious. Is there a brand that you think was really clever to get in on the action, which might not have been such an obvious choice?
Well, that's a very good question, and one of the most interesting brands to do that is, I think, is the British Tourist Board, because this is a great advert for the UK, where it's set, the location, and everything about it. So for them to get on board and to support this film and to use it as a vehicle to visit Britain, it is a really clever, smart way of doing it.
Yeah, you're right, because you always do say, oh, I want to go back when you see it all play out, as long as no one's shooting at me. How is it that the Bond brand still resonates? I mean, it's got its sort of legacy and history, but let's face it, there's so much competition out there. Everybody wants to get their hands on the millennials. How is it that they're still able to attract these names?
Well, I think it's all down to the sort of interpretation of Bond by Daniel Craig. If you look at what happened before him, yes, we had Pierce Brosnan with Die Another Day, or because of the brand partners, it became Buy Another Day. And I think it got a bit too cheesy, a bit too schmaltzy. I think this movie, what's happened is it's become very gritty, very real, and it's people can identify with that and with the Daniel Craig character. You know, people want to be him, and the old cliche of women want to be with him. But it's that whole thing of that he's there, he appeals to, he's very rugged, he's very manly, and he appeals to men 18 to 35. He's very cool. He doesn't sell out in the way that other people think the other Bonds used to do. He's all the brands appear in a very natural way as much as possible. So that's how he appeals to the millennials.
Yeah, it's true, because when it does seem obvious, it turns people off immediately. You know, you can see that obvious placement. So there's talk it may be his last Bond movie. They're going to have to find someone else. I mean, do the sponsors get a say in this? That's going to be so critical to see whether this relationship that's paying off for both sides is able to continue.
Well, I think you've got to understand that obviously, yes, the sponsors do like to get involved with the film. How much say they have is probably nil in reality. It's down to the Barbara Broccoli and Michael Wilson, to determine who the next Bond will be. But I think what's going to happen is Bond himself is a brand, and brands get associated with Bond because of who he is and who he represents and what he represents for them. It used to be a case of the other way around, that Bond was defined by the brands he drank, wore and drive. Now the brands that get involved with him, they are defined by who Bond is. So I think everyone's always going to want a piece of Bond. He's a global phenomenon. He appeals to everyone, no matter, all different countries globally. He's a big seller.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of this is directed on the male side, the connection with the male buyers. Any opportunity for brands that are more female-oriented to get in on this, or is the Bond girl not caught quite up with modern history yet for brands to want to be associated with that?
Well, that's true. I mean, and I think that was actually, there were more female partnerships with the last Bond in Skyfall, because obviously Swarovski did a big partnership with the Bond girl at the time, and they made sort of like Bond-inspired necklaces. Obviously, Belstaff was on the jacket that Moneypenny wore at the opening part of that film, and that big chase, which we were helped to get involved with, and that sort of really helped uplift in inquiries and sales. So yes, there is a side. The Bond girl is kind of an untapped vehicle, and especially because you have these kind of very feminine character in terms of the Bond girl, played by Monica Bellucci in this time round, and Lea Seydoux. But you also have the sort of more stronger character of Moneypenny. So you can tap into both sides of the female genre in that sort of capacity.